Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Rank where I climb the online VGC 15 ladder. Still using the same team as the previous two episodes, really trying to feature Suicune. Yesterday's episode was actually really intense. Suicune did a lot of work in that first game, and opponent had a Mega Gardevoir in the second game, which was really neat, and I'm actually hoping to switch my Mega to Mega Gardevoir in future episodes, so I'm working on currently training one up, and I will be switching around my Megas. I know you guys have asked for a lot, like Lopunny and Gallade, so I'm hoping to use those soon as well. But sticking with the same team for today, if you have not checked out the Mega Salamence team analysis or the Thundurus analysis as well, definitely go check those out because I think they're pretty helpful videos and I did put a lot of time and effort into making them. And fear not, there are a lot more analyses and content in general coming your way, so keep your eyes open for that. But let's just jump right into it. Right now, we have our rating of 1699, so obviously one more point puts us over 1700, which is pretty neat, with a win-loss ratio of 33 to 16, which is alright. This team has been a lot of fun to use. Obviously, I just kind of threw it together, but the Suicune with Tailwind is really, really neat. Snarl's actually a very fun move, too, so I've really been enjoying the Suicune set. You guys have been asking me for my EV spread and information, and I'm not ready to reveal that just yet, but just be patient, and I'll probably release it soon in a Suicune analysis, so also keep your eyes open for that. And like I said, I do plan on trying to release analysis on basically every viable Pokemon in the VGC 15 format. Of course, I've already gotten one done on Cresselia, Thundurus, Bisharp, and the last one is Sylveon. So yeah, as Ito with the rating of 1582 from Italy is going to be our first opponent of the day. So if we win this one, we will be over 1700, but definitely not going to be easy by any means because very competitive team here. Gengar, Rotom Heat, Kangaskhan, Gardevoir, Zapdos, and Aegislash entirely composed of VGC 2014 Pokemon, which is a flashback for sure. Though I'm curious as to whether, it's got any special tricks or whether this actually is just the VGC 2014 team that hasn't been updated. But of course, Gardevoir very well may be a Mega Gardevoir. Gengar could be Mega for all we know too, though I'd probably guess Focus Sash here. I do like Suicune a lot here as a lead, bar the Zapdos, so I'm thinking of going with Suicune Kangaskhan, though Terrakion's actually really good here as well. I'm gonna go with Terrakion actually, just because it can outspeed almost all my opponent's team, and the one thing it doesn't, which is the Gardevoir, I can, the Gengar, I can just take in Will-O-Wisps because I am Lumburied. So I'm thinking of Terrakion and Heatran actually. Heatran does very well against my opponent's team, and the one thing that really threatens this Heatran is the Gardevoir, but if I knock it, the one thing that really threatens Heatran is Kangaskhan with attacks like a low kick or, hammer arm or drain punch, but Terrakion threatens Kangaskhan right away, so I actually feel pretty good about those as my leads. I'm going to want my own Kangaskhan in the back for sure, and for the last one, this is actually a pretty tough call to make. Zapdos isn't very good offensively here, but it can switch into Kangaskhan attacks, I guess. You can also Thunder Wave and Roost. So Zapdos actually might not be a bad call. Though Suicune does get Snarls off and can set up Tailwind, Sylveon on the other hand can do a lot of damage to the majority of my opponent's team, so this is a pretty difficult decision. But I'm very leaning towards Zapdos right now just because of how hard it walls the Rotom Heat and my opponent's Zapdos can paralyze things too. But the issue is it just doesn't get much offense off. So, probably not going to want to bring Suicune. Yeah, I'm going to decide not to bring that. So it's between Sylveon and Zapdos. You know what? I'm going to go with Zapdos. Might regret this, but I feel like it can just really help out and I can divert attention away from other Pokemon. So, should be a good match, and if we do win, we do jump over 1700, which is nice. I think top 10 in the US right now on Battle Spots just over 1700, so that's cool. But, of course, our goal for the season is 1900. So I'm going to go with my Terrakion Heatran leads. Actually, first time leading with both of those Pokemon against a Gengar and Kangaskhan. Not bad at all. This first turn, honestly, I can just double protect. Though, like, this give my opponent a window of opportunity to switch out. But let's see. I could also just close combat the Kangaskhan here and Heat Wave. I feel like my opponent here would fake out the Terrakion and Will-O-Wisp as well. I can't double protect. What am I saying? Oh yeah, I can. I thought I had Kangaskhan out on my end for a second. Or maybe pull out a switch. I'm gonna protect Terrakion here. You know what? I'm just gonna close combat Heat Wave. a bit of an aggressive play, but the thing is I have such a good lead matchup here, and my opponent can't really do much on this first turn, but we do see Kangaskhan Mega Evolve. So my best bet here is we're going to see a Fake Out onto the Terrakion and a Will-O-Wisp into it. If my opponent makes really any other play, that Kangaskhan is a goner. Oh, but it goes for a Protect. That's actually an equally good play. As Gengar... Oh, just goes for the Shadow Ball. Interesting. Into Heatran. Huh. Not the play I was really expecting, but definitely one I won't complain about. Heat Wave fortunately does connect with Gengar here. Should bring in another 50%. Easily, actually. Wow. Oh, with the crit there. But... I guess maybe my opponent was predicting a Protect from that Terrakion, which makes sense because I was almost going to Protect and just Heat Wave there. But, you know what? I'm perfectly fine with that. And now I can just... close combat the Kangaskhan. Let's think what my opponent had in the back. A Gardevoir, an Aegislash, a Zapdos, and a Rotom Heat. So nothing in combination can really take a close combat in Heat Wave, so I'm just going to go for that play. My opponent's probably going to want to switch out Kangaskhan here, but like I said, this Terrakion does have a Lumberry, so if Gengar goes for the Will-O-Wisp, I'll just eat it up, and I'll be able to knock out the Gengar here with the Heat Wave. So I think I really have the lead advantage here, which is why I just went for the attacks that first turn, because I really wasn't worried. And it is good to know that Kangaskhan has Protect in case it tries to come back in once again, because that means it probably doesn't have Fake Out. Like I've mentioned in previous episodes, Kangaskhan's opt to use normally one or the other, but not both. Just because if you use both, you do lose up on one of your coverage moves, like... you know, you normally want like a normal stab boost like Return or Double Edge, you know, a fighting type attack like Power Up Punch, Drain Punch, Hammer Arm, or Low Kick, and then a, you know, Sucker Punch normally tends to be the other option. Though with, you know, VGC 15 we do see a bunch of newer moves like Ice Punch, even Fire Punch sometimes. But Gengar does go straight for the Will-O-Wisp, but my opponent is probably not expecting the Lumberry coming out here, so this is perfect for me. As I'm going to eat the Lumberry, knock out this Kangaskhan, and hopefully as long as Heat Wave connects here onto the Gengar, it's going to knock it out as well. I'm sure my opponent wasn't expecting that, so the play would have made sense if he was assuming, you know, Sash Terrakion, but that's not going to be the case. So I'm going to knock out that Kangaskhan, which is really sweet because it is a pretty big threat. Heat Wave also fortunately connects here with Gengar. That's also going to pick up a knockout, so I instantly go up 4-2, which is a great way to start this battle, and I really was anticipating the Kangaskhan lead, which is why I decided to bring the Terrakion, and I think Terrakion and Heatran really just checked anything my opponent had. There really wasn't anything that could threaten both of them simultaneously, so I'm pretty happy I got the advantage there, and it is a pretty big, you know, fact of, a huge factor in the game is outleading your opponent and picking really the safest leads regardless of what your opponent brings. We see Aegislash and Zapdos as my opponent's last two, which is good, but I do want to see if this Aegislash has Wide Guard or not. So I kind of want to scout for that. This first turn I'm actually going to double Protect to get some leftovers recovery with Heatran and just see what my opponent's Pokemon go for. Even if Zapdos goes for a Tailwind, you know, I don't really mind that right now. Both my Heatran is really bulky, so it's going to be difficult for my opponent to even take down this Heatran in the first place. But right now I'm just trying to scout out the Aegislash, maybe even bait it into an attack and turn it into sword form or blade form. So obviously that was a fantastic first two targets for me, as I basically didn't take any damage, and I picked up 2 knockouts on 2 of the bigger Pokemon I could have knocked out on my opponent's team. And with Kangaskhan and Kangaskhan in the back and Zapdos, I feel pretty good about my position. And I am glad I brought the Zapdos now over the not the Aegislash, the Sylveon, because that definitely does a better job against my opponent's Pokemon. So Zapdos goes straight for the T-Bolt, as, yep, I do bait the Aegislash into sword form, or blade form. I keep on mixing the two. And it does have Shadow Ball, so this looks like a very standard kind of Aegislash, as it just Shadow Balls into me. And now I can just easily Rock Slide, and Heat Wave, yeah. I could set up a sub here, but if Aegislash reveals the Wide Guard, you know, that's good info for me. But then Zapdos is what? Probably going to T-Bolt the Heatran, but then Heatran can easily eat that up, you know, recover more from leftovers. So, I don't know. I definitely got my opponent in a good position, or a bad position for my opponent at least. I probably could have Earth-powered Aegislash here. It also might just decide to change forms and go into Shield form once again. So yeah, I mean, Aegislash is an interesting Pokemon, but actually my opponent just forfeits there, knowing that my lead is really too much to come back from. So pretty quick first win here, but it features kind of Terrakion and Heatran, which are 2 Pokemon I really like. I think they're both really great in this metagame as of right now, and You know, in previous VGC years, we've seen legendaries like Thundurus, Cresselia, Landorus, and Latios, and Tornadus dominate, whereas Terrakion really wasn't used as much in VGC 2013, even though I actually won a regional championship with it. That team was very specific, and Heatran itself actually has been very good in VGC in the years it's been allowed. Made it to the finals of Worlds in both 2012 and 2013. 2012 on Wolfie Glick's team, 2013 on both the Rashomati's team and Ryosuke Kosuge's team, so Heatran is definitely one of the best legendary Pokemon in all the years it's been allowed in VGC, but that win's going to put us over 1700, which is really neat, so now we can start our climb into the 1800s. Hopefully we don't lose this next one to drop under, but, you know, it's nice to be, you know, at this point where we are right now as we continue to find an opponent. But, yeah, I know, you know, in the prospect of legendaries, it's kind of interesting. Obviously, I'm using a bunch, but these ones aren't nearly as popular as they were in 2013 or 2012 if you played those years in VGC. Though Zapdos was actually very popular in 2012 with the Electric Gem. Second opponent of the day is going to be a 1585 rated player from Germany with a team of Conkeldurr, Hydreigon, Sylveon, Metagross, Landorus, and Bisharp. So also a very threatening team for a somewhat lower rated player for sure. First impressions are Suicune here does very, very well. Suicune can one-hit KO the Landorus. He can set up Tailwind. It can also Hyper Voice. And there's not really much, you know, it just kind of walls my opponent's team. So I think I'm going to lead with Suicune. The question is who I want to pair next to it. Now I realize that I do have a kind of glaring Metagross weakness, so I kind of want to be careful of that. Alternatively, I can actually just lead Kangaskhan Sylveon, and there's really not much my opponent can do to beat that combination, to be quite honest with you. So, decisions. I could also go Kangaskhan Suicune. That's actually not a bad option. I do like that. Kangaskhan Suicune, Sylveon in the back. Probably not going to want to bring Terrakion on this just because the only two things it really does well against is the Hydreigon and the Bisharp, so I'm going to eliminate that from team preview. So we're down to Zapdos and Heatran. I'm thinking Heatran is a better call here, especially if that Metagross does not have Earthquake. But these Conkeldurrs are really scary to go up against. But, yep, I'm going to go with Heatran instead. Zapdos here is nice. It's alright, but the thing is I don't even have HP Ice on mine. You know, I have Heat Wave, which is something I should change for future rounds. But by not having HP Ice, I can't really even hit that Landorus T, and the Heat Waves actually do less damage than Thunderbolts do, just because Heat Wave is including spread damage, which significantly reduces it, whereas T-Bolt still gets that stab. So I'm going to go with Kangaskhan Suicune here as my opponent goes with Metagross and Landorus. Okay. Not bad, not bad. It's going to get the Intimidate off, sure, but that's fine with me. Kangaskhan, of course, doesn't really like dealing with Intimidates, but, you know, that's alright. I'm basically guaranteed a free Tailwind up here, which is awesome. I think I'm just going to fake out the Landorus and Tailwind. There's a good chance Landorus here switches out, or maybe it even stays in, but the reality here is I'm guaranteed a Tailwind off, unless the Metagross somehow manages to crit me. My prediction here is it's going to Mega Evolve and Protect to get the speed boost, because my opponent might think my Kangaskhan is fast, but if you know me and my Kangaskhan's, they tend to be slower and on the bulkier end, just because I like having that bulk more than the speed. And on a Tailwind speed, you really don't need max speed. As you see, his Metagross actually evolves before mine. I think that's a Protect coming out from the Landorus, though. Good play there. Let's see if Metagross protects as well. It does protect. Okay, perfect turn there, as I actually managed to set up a Tailwind, which is as ideal as it'll really get. So the fake out obviously goes into there, but the Tailwind here is really ideal. Just gonna quickly grab my charger. And that's like a perfect turn one. That's really as good as it gets, especially because now my opponent, it's just in a really bad position. Let's see. I should have noted my opponent's team down, so I'm just gonna quickly run over it. This is why having notes really helps, because you get to remember all your opponent's Pokemon, which can really help in terms of, you know, what they might want to switch into. So we saw Landorus, we saw Metagross, Conkeldurr, Zapdos. Do we see Zapdos? Conkeldurr, Hydreigon for sure. Kind of want to Power Up Punch here, but that might be a bit aggressive. I could actually Power Up Punch this Landorus and Ice Beam it. Yeah, I'm going to go for this play. He's probably going to switch out Landorus here. Oh, it doesn't switch out, actually. So that Landorus is probably a goner, unless it's Assault Vest. But the reason why I went for the double target there is because I knew I was guaranteed a +1, and, you know, if it stays in, it's probably just going to get KO'd by this Ice Beam. And my Suicune is offensive enough to knock out most Landorus T, so let's see how bulky it is. It's not able to take that Ice Beam, so not a very bulky Landorus T there. Suicune does manage to knock it out, which is a perfect turn for me. We do see Meteor Mash go into the Kangaskhan here, though. Hopefully no attack raise. And no, as it does 120 damage, lots of damage there, but now I can just Sucker Punch it, which is really bad for my opponent, and I still have 2 turns of Tailwind left, so that last turn ended up playing it alright for me. And I knew Metagross couldn't knock out either of my Pokemon, so if my opponent, let's say, were to switch out, you know, I'd be perfectly fine, as Bisharp actually comes in for my opponent, which is a good Pokemon to have for sure. Now there are 2 plays my opponent can make, you know, protect Metagross and try to knock out my Kangaskhan, which means I could just Power Up Punch the Bisharp and Scald Metagross, because I really think Metagross might want to protect here to prevent the Sucker Punch. I'm going to go for that play. Even if Bisharp protects here, that's perfectly fine, as it does go for a protect. Okay, so I'm fine because I get a Scald off here, and then I get a free switch into Heatran should he connect with this Meteor Mash. And I, of course, always get the chance of burning here with Scald, and he has to hit the Meteor Mash, so the odds are not in my opponent's favor right now. But actually everything ends up working out. I nearly did Sucker Punch the Metagross, and in retrospect, maybe that would have been a better play. But the thing is, I knew I'd get a free switch into the Heatran I've got in the back. So I'm really honestly fine with how that plays out. And now I can just Heat Wave and Scald. Though it is kind of annoying to lose a +1 Kangaskhan like that. But I'm not going to complain. I'm still in a better position for sure. Though had I just Sucker Punch Metagross there, it would have been game actually. So I don't know. I thought the Sucker Punch was a bit obvious, which is why I went for the Power Up Punch. But my opponent decided, made a really good play and read into that. So props to him for that. Let's see how this next turn plays out. I'm guaranteed free damage onto that Bisharp slot, given that it protected last turn, and we're going to see it switch out. Metagross here is probably going to want to protect, as a Hydreigon actually comes in from my opponent's last one, which is definitely a really good last Pokemon to have. In anticipation, I actually should have Ice Beam that slot instead of Scalding here, just because Heat Wave would have brought down the Bisharp to its Focus Sash anyways, so that was kind of a careless play on my end. But I'm going to get the Heat Wave and the Scald off, and that's still going to do a lot of damage regardless of the resists. It's going to bring it almost under 50%. There's no burn there, but, you know, can't really complain. I'm just gonna protect in Tailwind here, honestly. I'm gonna go for another Tailwind. Even if he double targets a Suicune, I don't think a Draco Meteor and a Zen Headbutt can knock it out, just because the Suicune is so dang bulky. But, we'll have to see. And the reason why I protected there with Heatran is because there is a probability that Metagross or Hydreigon carries Earth Power / Earthquake. Both the Hydreigon and the Metagross. Actually, the Metagross I ran in the past did not have Earthquake, but the Hydreigon I run has Earth Power. So I'm still kind of upset at myself for walking into that obvious protect with Bisharp, but you know what? It is one of those kind of 50-50 plays. As we do see Earth Power come out against the Heatran there, so perfect there. Hopefully Zen Headbutt does not flinch me here. That's the one bad thing that could happen. But it doesn't, and I get the Tailwind up, which is absolutely perfect. So, given that Hydreigon actually outsped Metagross, I'd have to guess that's Choice Scarf Hydreigon. So all I have to do here is Heat Wave and Ice Beam. And I think I've basically got this game locked up. Suicune really was the MVP in this. It's not over though, so obviously the game's never over until it really is, as Metagross goes for a Protect here. So hopefully, oh wow, that's problematic. So that is a really fast Hydreigon, and it actually knocks out my Hydreigon despite the Tailwind. I was not anticipating it being that fast, but that's really problematic right now for me. Now this makes the match a lot more interesting, that's for sure. I should have played safer and switched out, knowing that Hydreigon was Scarfed and that it might have been faster. That was a really bad miscalculation on my end. I don't think I can knock out the Metagross here, unfortunately, with a... I think I'm forced to Shadow Ball here. Oh my god, that was a terrible last turn. I've got a Shadow Ball, yo. Oh, wow. That's the issue here, and since Heatran is so slow, okay, he's gonna stay in with that Hydreigon, which is good news for me because now it's locked into Earth Power, and I'm really not worried about it. So at least I'm gonna be able to pick up the KO here onto the Metagross, but this is actually really gonna go down to a wire. Well, Scald plus Spec Shadow Ball here should knock it out. As, hopefully it does, otherwise I'm in a lot of trouble. But it picks up the KO, okay, good. Oh my gosh. As Bisharp's obviously gonna be my opponent's last one here, but I'm in some trouble here, as the Bisharp can actually just protect to stall out the Tailwind. So, wow, I really misplayed with that Heatran. I should have assumed Hydreigon was still faster. Very nice play on my opponent's end that last turn, and all I needed to do was conserve Heatran to win this match. So that was a very big miscalculation on my end. All my opponent here, like I said, has to do is I'm gonna Scald the Hydreigon or Shadow Ball the Hydreigon and just Scald Bisharp. I think Bisharp's gonna protect here. It does, okay. But that's fine because Shadow Ball should knock out Hydreigon regardless. Earth Power into the Suicune, yep. Oh man, this is really gonna come down to whether he can knock out my Suicune or not. Shadow Ball at least knocks out the Hydreigon there, which is good. Whew, this is intense, guys. This is really intense. Tailwind Peter's out here, so it's all coming down to a wire. I'm going to Shadow Ball. I have to Shadow Ball. If I give it a Defiant Boost, that would be the end of me. Now the question is whether I want to Tailwind or Scald here. If I Tailwind and he knocks off my Suicune, then it's in Sucker Punch KO range, which is really problematic. So you know what? I think I'm just going to Scald. It might have been a misplay, but it goes straight for the knockoff onto Suicune. Will it knock me out? It won't. Oh man, so it's really coming down to this. If I could get a burn here too. It is Life Orb, so let's see. Oh, the burn. Now, I'm not sure how much I actually needed that, because the thing is, Bisharp still has to knock out 2 of my Pokemon, and yeah, actually it wouldn't have mattered, as I actually give it the Defiant Boost. But the reason why it wouldn't have mattered was because Suicune was able to hang on, so Bisharp would have had to target 1 of 2 Pokemon the following turn, and with the Life Orb recoil and the damage coming on from the other Pokemon, it would have been game anyway. So, well, that was a really intense match. Great game to my opponent. And yeah, I mean, that burn obviously gave me some insurance in the end, but like I said, it really didn't matter since Scald and Shadow Ball was able to do enough. The key there was really Suicune surviving that knockoff. Had it not been able to survive, obviously it would have been game over, because I wouldn't have been able to get a Scald off, but basically I needed both of my Pokemon to survive that turn, and fortunately enough it did. And yeah, that was a really, really intense match, especially after I not choked it away, but after the Hydreigon was able to knock out my Heatran with that Earth Power. So, you know, I should have played a bit better there, but really intense 2 matches today for sure. And with that, our rating should be around 1725, which is really neat. So, already starting our climb into the 1800s. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this match. Leave a like if you did, like always, and I'll see you tomorrow. Alright, peace.